Hey everybody, it's Andrea here at VW Family Farm, and today's video is talking about something that we need to fix here on our farm. So if you've been around here for a while, you know that we have a fairly sustainable farm. If we're raising an animal, we generally like to keep a male and a female. We like to be able to produce our own here. One of the reasons for that is not because we feel like ours is better, but because we've had trouble in the past getting feeders, like feeder pigs, or you've seen our cows many times. We have a pretty large herd of cows, and that's because we keep keeping the females because we want to grow our herd. We want to produce our own. Of course, we're in the business of selling protein, but we started all of this just to produce our own. That's where this whole farm started, was us raising food. So even down to, we have an egg-laying flock of chickens. We have ducks running around. Pretty much everything on this farm is able to reproduce. We're able to raise those from babies and know that we have a steady supply. The pigs, obviously, I just showed you. We raise a lot of feeder pigs. In fact, we have about close to 50 right now, because we have people depending on us that want to buy meat from us. We also want to make sure that we can raise for ourselves. So that's where that all comes into play. But one place we have struggled, and that's what I want to talk to you about today, is with meat chickens, broilers. Being able to sustainably raise those. If you know much about raising chicken, you know most people raise the Cornish cross. We really do and really are satisfied with how those turn out. People have their own opinions on whether they like those or not, because they are a four-way terminal cross. And what that means is you cannot produce that on your own at your farm. You have to order those every year from a hatchery. And so it's not a sustainable option. But what we have done in the past is, in our layers, we have kept a flock of Buff Orpingtons. They're a dual-purpose breed. They get rather meaty. And so we continue to order Cornish cross, but we also know in the back of our mind, if we ever had to rely on a dual-purpose breed, we already have a flock going. But they're not really what we're looking for in a dual-purpose breed. They would work in a pinch. They would work if we were, in a situation having to provide for ourselves, but they've never been just exactly what we were looking for. You can probably hear calves bawling and pigs snorting and everything in the background. This is a working farm, but I wanted to take just a few minutes out here outside with you. I've taken some notes and some things I want to be sure and share with you on this video. And this video is going to be about the steps we're taking to go a different direction with raising broilers. And first off, I just want to address a couple things in case you buy from a farm and you've noticed a price increase on chicken, or maybe you're thinking about getting into it. Some things I just feel like you need to know. So just like everything else that has skyrocketed in the last couple years, raising chickens is no different. We used to get them for less than $1 a piece all the time, every year, hundreds of them at a time. But it didn't even matter how many we ordered. That was a pretty standard price. Feed prices vary, so if I told you our feed price, that really doesn't mean anything to you because I don't know what feed prices were in your area a couple years ago. But just for, you know, reference right now, let's say our feed prices were $250 per ton. And then processing, if you do small batches and you're just doing it for yourself at home, obviously you can process them yourself. But if you're raising hundreds and you want to sell cuts that you need them to be inspected, or even whether you don't, but you want them to be nicely trimmed and packaged, and maybe you're doing more than you have the ability to process, $4 or $5 per bird was, you know, you could expect that. So the last couple years, and this past year especially, and now this year as well, it's nothing to pay $2 per bird, which you might be thinking, well, that's just $1. But when you're looking at buying large amounts, $1 adds up when you add it onto every bird. And when you take into account, you're going to lose some of those birds. So you're paying double the price for some that you're going to lose. Feed has more than doubled. So we're over $500 a ton, and I don't see much end in sight. It doesn't look like it's coming back down anytime soon. Processing has not doubled, but it's easily could amount to, you know, close to $7 per bird. So if you do the math, and I'll just tell you, I've already done it, we're talking about around, you could have $10, $11 in a chicken easily. And that is not counting for like your equipment you'd have to do it, or your time to do it. They're very labor intensive while you're doing it. I don't care how many systems you have set up. You have to be there. You have to keep an eye on them. You know, they're just very labor intensive. So not to mention all of those things that you're putting into them that is not even included in that $10 to $11 per bird. So how do we fix our problem? Well, that's a good question. So throughout this video, you're going to be seeing us move our Cornish cross chickens out onto pasture. We've got to gather them up. We're taking them out to our schooner, which is our big prairie schooner, where we pull them around and they're on pasture and all that. They have a very short time here. They are typically here for 7 to 8 weeks. Now, I want to talk to you about what we are going to do differently after this batch. This very well could be some of the last Cornish cross you see here. Never say never, because you never know. We may have more Cornish cross this fall. We may have them next year. We may not do them again at all. We try to keep our options open. But I want to introduce you guys to a breed that is new to us. And I'm going to link below where we got them from, Sandstone Farms. And you guys should check them out. Also, I want to tell you a little bit about this chicken. This is called the American Bresse. They have been in the U.S. for less than 15 years, actually just a little over 10 years. They are from France. That's where they originated from. They're also known as the Queen of the Chicken, or the Chicken of Kings. So that tells you they're a delicacy. They are fed out over in France with all the dairies over there. They finish them out on some sort of dairy that then they soak corn in, and they usually add in a grain like wheat or a cereal grain as well. They actually finish these out. They let them forage, and then they put them up in cages in like a darker place for the last few weeks in a peaceful place to finish them out. Not sure we'll ever do that here. That all has to do with the flavor profile that they're creating and putting in there. But let's put flavor aside for the sake of this video, because we've not even eaten one yet. But let's talk about what's our motivation for even trying this. Why mess with a good thing? Well, I'm glad you asked. So one of the reasons is because these are sustainable. In fact, that's the main reason. So we have a small group of them right now. We're raising them up, and then they will be our layers. In fact, American breast chickens are actually very good layers as well. They're not the best. They're not what you'd want to go pick if you were wanting the best of the best for layers, but they will lay around 250 eggs a year. You could expect, 4 or 5 eggs a week out of them. I think that's pretty good. And then we will raise those up, and then they will lay eggs. And then we have recently gotten a new incubator that we're really excited about. You'll be seeing that. We can incubate those eggs, and we can raise small batches of these at a time. Number one, eliminating the cost of going and buying them. Number two, when we get chicks in the mail, it's awesome. Everyone's always like really impressed, like, wow, you can order chickens in the mail? That's so cool. But there's a price to pay anytime you do anything. And once those chicks get to us and they've been without food and water for a couple days, even at best a day, they're really thirsty. They're hungry. They come in and they almost don't know what to do with themselves because they just like dive into the water. We've tried all sorts of waterers. We've tried little baby waterers. We've tried, drip waterers where all they could get was a drip. They will push on those and let that just, drip on them, get themselves wet. And we've lost lots of them in the past. In fact, this year, we ordered 700. Some of them got lost in the mail. They came 1 day late, only 24 hours late. But I don't know where they'd been sitting all that time. They were cold. We wound up losing, I think we have around 400 left. So this, and before you ask, you were probably like, well, who's responsible for that? That's a good question. We contacted who we got them from, and they have like a 48-hour policy. Most places do, but you better find that out before you order a large batch of chicks. That, hey, if these get lost, if they come in and they die right away, what are we gonna do about it? Will you give me a refund? So thankfully we did. Now, I don't know if they get in contact with the post office and they get a refund as well. I'm not on that end of it, so I'm not sure. But that's just, it's just always better if you can have something born on your farm rather than bringing it in. It just is. They're just going to be stronger. They're born into the environment they're going to live in. They're born into, immediately you can get them on food and water and heat and all those things. They don't have the stress of being transported, and that goes for chickens, pigs, and cows, anything. So not only are we eliminating the price of ordering all those chicks, even though, yes, we will be feeding our flock, but that's very minimal compared to all the eggs we're going to get out of them to incubate. But also we're eliminating that loss. And also we're going to probably, I know we will, we'll have much smaller batches to raise at a time. And so we can actually probably handle processing some of those. I don't think we'll do all of them, but we do a large number of whole chickens. People want those. We want those for ourselves. And so that's something we can definitely process here on our farm. We already have the equipment because we did chickens for years before we did them on the huge scale we do now. We've processed a couple hundred ourselves at a time, no problem. It's work, don't get me wrong, but we have done it. We do know how. So that's a huge chunk of money we can eliminate. And I just feel like this is just going to be a much more sustainable, much more workable plan for us than these huge batches that are just, it's just difficult. And we are, for lack of a better word, we are stuck and don't know a solution to ordering them every year. We just don't know a way to produce them here. And so really, really excited about the American breast chicken. Now, again, I don't know that we'll finish them out the same. So we will see about the flavor and the texture and tenderness. We will be showing you all that. And just want to be transparent and clear with you guys in case you don't know anything about them. They're not going to grow as fast as the Cornish cross. They're going to take about twice as long. Where a Cornish cross is going to be finished, 6 to 8 weeks, these are going to be more like 14 to 16. But they're not going to eat as much at a time either. So we'll see how all that plays out. But that is not necessarily our motivation here. If they eat a little bit more than the Cornish cross, the way it's going to save us on all the other areas, we're still going to come out much better off in the long run. So I'm really excited, really excited about this. As you can see on this video, you can tell them apart, no problem, from the Cornish cross. They look different. They're just healthier. They're already just jumping around, acting more like a real chicken. They have blue legs, so they're easy to tell apart. We won't have any trouble in that regard when we go to separate these. Just really excited about the future of our chicken operation. And we will be taking you guys along and filming all of it and telling you exactly what we think of it. So that's what we're doing. That's how we're going to be more sustainable in the chicken farming. I will see you guys later. These Cornish cross are going to be out of here in just a few weeks, and I'm super excited. If I never raise another batch of Cornish crosses, that will be okay with me. I love it when it's done, but while it's going on, whew, it's a big job. I'll see you guys later. Thanks for watching, and God bless.